Hello, I am Caleb Gentry, and I'm a member of the SI Bridges program this year. And for this summer, I was able to take part in a research project where we looked into comparing the survival and mortality rates of white-tailed deer fawns. That is the key term for the offspring of white-tailed deer. Of course, many people know this, but just in case there are those watching this that are not aware, the term for baby deer is, of course, a fawn. And for this project, we were covering the topic of what helps fawns survive more and what helps fawns stay fit more, along with what leads to higher mortality rates. And for my poster, I wanted to specifically look into the kind of habitats that help affect fawn survival and mortality rates. And so, very few studies have actually been done where we look into the effects of these factors. And so SIU Carbondale has been doing this project for 45 years, and I was able to be a part of it this year, and I would hope to continue it more as it was a very fun experience. So what we did was for this project, we covered two sites. There was one site in Shelbyville, Illinois, about 2.5 hours away from SIU Carbondale, and I was a part of the team here at SIU where we went to Touch of Nature and Giant City State Park, which is approximately 10 to 15 minutes away. So we would just go out into the woods and form lines and just transect through the woods, trying to locate fawns. And we had huge butterfly nets basically to capture the fawns. Sometimes we'd have to run them down, sometimes we would just stumble upon them. And once we have them captured, we managed to subdue them and carefully managed to take measurements. And we would try to assess the health and fitness of each fawn. But of course, the main idea of the project was to be able to track them to see if they continue to grow, if they continue to survive, or if they fall victim to a predator or die of any other causes. So to track them, we would put radio collars on them. That is the most important step of this project, where the first thing we do before anything, before any measurements are taken, we would put a radio collar on them that is fitted to where it will eventually fall off as the fawns grow. And once we had the collar on and once we get all our measurements done, we let them go and we would continue to track them every day. Someone would go out to the site where they were caught or close to it, and using telemetry, we would track them down and record the data by typing down where they were located so that we can keep track of them. And if a fawn was discovered to have deceased, we would then assess the possible cause of death. And so that is how we get data for the mortality rates. All the data was organized on Excel sheets for later analysis. Now, we don't have any conclusive results yet for this year's project, but what we can understand so far is that the survival rates in Shelbyville, Illinois, along with here in Carbondale, are about the same. But because of the different habitats, we're seeing different causes of death. So here in Carbondale, we have more natural habitat that deer prefer, more dense woodland, along with your every now and then fields and meadows and aquatic habitats where you'll find ponds or lakes, just a lot more dense foliage, more like. And because of that more natural habitat, we're seeing higher rates of predation from coyotes, bobcats, even domestic dogs. And so that, of course, comes to show that with the more natural habitat, the more protected land means that there are also going to be higher numbers of predator species living with these white-tailed deer. So of course, we're going to see higher predation rates. Now over at Shelbyville, we have found that because over there, there's more agricultural land. And so we're seeing higher rates of causes that are a little bit more unnatural, where we can conclude is possibly due to the amount of agriculture being done over there. So it's more man-made causes. But however, these can be natural causes of death, as these kinds of events happen in nature. And the events of death that I'm talking about are dehydration, starvation, or even abandonment. We're seeing higher numbers of those in Shelbyville, and it is likely due to the fact that because of all the agriculture, there's much less resources, which means that fawns have a much harder time trying to survive along with their mothers. So sometimes they're abandoned, sometimes they become dehydrated, sometimes they sadly starve to death. However, the majority of the fawns usually survive. And right now, we are seeing higher numbers of fawns surviving for now. And because there's an overpopulation of deer in southern Illinois, there's no need to worry about having to manage deer more carefully. However, it is always good to have this research and knowledge so that we can always look after the population to see how it is doing. And so, in the end, this research all plays a part in managing wildlife and looking after wildlife, including the white-tailed deer. I would personally like to thank the Wildlife Laboratory here at SAU Carbondale, along with the SI Bridges program, for giving me this amazing opportunity to take part in these projects. And I also want to acknowledge NIH for funding SI Bridges and these projects. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you very much.